Hey guys, welcome to the Canada Puck Podcast, your weekly recap of what's going on in the world of sports, specifically in hockey, and even more specifically in the great nation that is Canada. I am your co-host, Mick. You can find me on Twitter at ProfitMick, and I'm joined every episode by the big guy upstairs,
Grant, on Twitter at Fourth Line Sports.
I feel
Jesus. Jesus with a sweet mustache, maybe.
Cool Jesus, hey.
Is there a drunk Jesus? Maybe we could get a patent on drunk Jesus. I feel like that's probably something that doesn't exist, but probably suits us. You got that cool Jesus-y flow. I'm the guy upstairs.
It's true. There you go.
There's got to be something there. I was going to lead with like a North joke, like the North remembers or something stupid. We're going to rebrand. We're Jesus something.
Alright, cool, yeah. So, as you just noted there, Grant did freeze. I do believe it's on my end, because I had an issue with a call earlier this week. Same thing. I'm going to try and hardwire my computer to the Wi-Fi. I think it's just like slightly far away. Note for next week, so, I mean, if I don't get to it, I don't get to it, but I definitely think it's me, not you, so sorry about that.
Jesus forgives. And so do I.
That's good. So, we got into it. First thing, oh my god, playoff hockey was at our fingertips. I mean, we talked about it last time. Just all the wonder, the joy, you know, the fierceness of these rivalries, the intensity that we're going to see, the fact that we could get continuous overtime hockey. And boy, did we get overtime hockey this last week. Whew. How many games went to overtime in the last week?
Shit, man, I wasn't keeping a running tally. I want to say at least six. Probably 8, though, because there was 2 last night. Nashville, Edmonton, both went to overtime. There's been at least a couple from, was it 3? I think the first 3 in Boston went to overtime.
The first 4 games, I think, went to overtime, so isn't that how it started last week?
3 for sure. I know it was 3, but I think whatever that 4th game was, I think it was Vegas, Minnesota.
4?
Or was it 4? I don't know.
4. Nope, none that day. 5. Let's just double check. 6. Oh, 6, 7, 8. There you go. Look at that. 8. Not bad.
And just the excitement. Like, nothing rivals overtime playoff hockey. Nothing. Like, you can't put anything in front of me and say that this is a better product than playoff overtime hockey. And the best part, if you've watched any of the season or any of the series down in the States, is there's fans that just bring this booming energy. Like the Carolina series, like they're sold out. They're sold out in Carolina. That's awesome. And to see the storm surge at the end in the playoffs with everybody there, like, man, like chills, like literal chills.
Yeah, a lot of emotions to run through. So today I think we're going to deviate from the format just a little bit because it is the playoffs. Instead of doing headlines where we kind of touch on the divisions in total, we're going to look specifically at the Canadian playoff series thus far, what they've been, and then kind of just recap quickly what we've been kind of noticing on the other series, getting some fantasy advice, some gambling advice.
And Babe of the Week.
Oh yeah, Baby of the Week. You know, that's not going to go away. That's got to stay.
Never. Like, if our podcast dissolves, we'll still get together once a week to talk about Babes of the Week. Like, that's inevitable.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got to give you kudos from the one last week. The girl, maybe a couple weeks ago, Misty. She had a slow-motion video of her doing jump squats in her underwear. All right. Well, that led to a whole afternoon of activities. Speaking of which...
That's just a taste. That's just the tip, guys. You got to tune into the archive, the Library of the Canada Puck podcast, and you will get the full taste.
That's what you need. You need the full thing. Starting of the full thing, let's jump right to our dear friends, the Edmonton Oilers. They're up first. They played 2 games against the accursed Winnipeg Jets. I don't want to sign in. I just want to talk about hockey. And thus far, they're what are they averaging? Like a goal a game? It's pretty good.
Did they get 2? I thought they only got 1 in the first one.
Oh, sorry, half a goal a game? It's pretty good.
I was making this joke, and it's not a joke. It's a legitimate concern. But the Jets, what they've done is they've stymied Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl through the first 2 games. Who is going to score in the absence of Connor and Leon, was the joke I was making. Josh Archibald? Like, no. Josh Archibald is obviously not the man to do that. And you want to know the funny thing is last night, overtime, nothing, whatever it is, 6 minutes in, Ryan McLeod was on the ice for his first shift in, I want to say at least, I don't think he played in the third period. So, like, we're talking, this guy gets overtime minutes after basically playing, I could check here for you, but I'm going to say less than 8 minutes the entire game. And it wasn't a bad turnover, but they coughed the puck up in the attacking zone. Jets go down, and then there was kind of that double screen on Smith that was the difference. I don't get the decision. Like, I don't get the personnel. Period. Why in the sweet fuck are we playing him in overtime against the Jets' top line? Well, one of the Jets' top two lines. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've not partaken in this series. It's just on too late for me. That's all, guys. It's just a little bit too late. But I've tried to watch highlights. I saw a replay of the game last week. It was close. You know what? Game 1 was a lot closer than the 4-1 kind of score would indicate. They had the puck. They were putting pressure on Hellebuck and the Jets right up to the end, kind of until that empty net that's started to swing. I guess that kind of nail in the coffin. Versus last night. I mean, great that, you know, and it's the same old story, right? Like, Connor McDavid is awesome, best in the world. Draisaitl looks super dynamic, but I mean, if you can just stop those two guys in your offense, gets all kind of bunged up. Isn't that kind of what the Blackhawks formula from last year?
Yeah, and that's like, there's going to be a narrative regardless of the outcome in this series of the Edmonton Oilers postseason team is not the same. Like, they don't make the adjustments, and that might cost them in the long run in the series. Two things though, Ryan McLeod, 9 minutes and 3 seconds last night, and in game 1, the Oilers, and don't get me wrong, the Oilers were down 2-1, but they had the goalie pulled. They were going into the attacking zone, and this fucking ref, and I didn't look into it because I knew it was just going to piss me off. This ref stops at the half boards, not even at the half boards, like at the actual like face-off dot, just above it. And puck goes off his skate. When Edmonton misses, I think it was Draisaitl. Draisaitl misses the puck because it goes off the ref when the ref should be way deeper than where he is. And then Winnipeg turns and goes. They ended up scoring 3-1. I'm not saying Edmonton was coming back, but the officials definitely robbed them of at least the opportunity to get back into that game. And, like, I know that it's fucking minute, but that still chaps my ass. Like, don't get in the puck's way with less than 2 minutes to go in the third period with a net pull. Like, that's just fucking reffing 101.
No, it's fair. Yeah, you should just be on the ice, but not influencing the plays. That's unfortunate. Yeah, that's too bad. I do not think all is doom and gloom, though, however. There is a chance, right? Like, take those games in Winnipeg on the road. They're going to be tougher matchups. But, you know, when you get the two most dynamic players, scorers in hockey, right? Like, McDavid put up over 100 points. He's due for it. Like, he's not going to be shut out, so don't worry, Oilers fans. I have a good feeling about tomorrow afternoon.
Is it an afternoon game? God, that fucking chaps my ass.
It's like 5 o'clock. Sundays in my mind are like a really extended day, you know, like nighttime on like a Sunday is like 8 o'clock or something. So in my mind, the afternoon's like really extended.
Yeah, and that's what the approach the NHL took today too, is games basically like sporadically, as opposed to just like loading up the evening slate. So playoff hockey already started in Florida. God bless their little hearts, but when I think we're a few series or a few comments away from getting to those series.
And then on the other side of the country, there we go, figured it out. We got the Montreal Canadiens facing Les Maple Leafs. I don't know if I said that in the correct French pronunciation, but probably close. It was a 2-1 victory for the Habs in Game 1. They lead 0-1 over the Leafs. I guess they probably lead 1-0. I don't know why I said it that way. I'm coming at it from a certain point of view. And we get Game 2, an exciting Game 2 tonight.
Please tell me you at least saw Game 1, though. Please tell me you saw the John Tavares incident.
Oh, 100%. I mean, my day was set up around being on the couch at 5:30 to watch the Toronto Maple Leafs play. I was having a pretty good day. I got a top a double digit, a 13 out of 40,000 Julius Randle New York Knicks top shot. That card might be worth like $1,000. I pulled that like minutes before the start of the game. I was on a high. I thought like this is going to be the best day of my life. I was going to mark that on the calendar. Best day of my life. About 10 minutes into this hard-hitting affair, we're seeing a lot of skill, a lot of physicality. There was a really unfortunate accident where Corey Perry kind of ran over John Tavares, knocked him out. And then there was some horrific images after that point until the captain was cleared from the ice. I know I felt sick personally at home. I felt sick to my stomach watching the whole incident unfold. Not a lot of things have rattled me. I can think of maybe like a dozen times in my life watching something on television live where like my stomach has a sickening feel. That's kind of what I was witnessing. And it wasn't so much the initial hit. Like people were going off about stop showing the hit, stop showing the hit. It's so horrific. I've seen guys get knocked out cold, in like UFC fights, boxing fights. You see those things. The guy's buckles. The thing that got me is when the trainer was trying to help him up off the ice, and they got him to that vertical position, and then his body just kind of went limp, and you could see the blood flowing down his face, and he like fell backwards over himself. That was like really hard to watch, and I think that's when everyone kind of panicked. The Montreal medical staff came onto the ice. The players started to come on the ice. You could see that like the soul leave Corey Perry's face kind of thing, thinking like, what the frick did I just do to this guy? Kudos honestly to the Maple Leafs, the fact that it was a close game, right down to the line, and they had a chance to win it kind of late, because like there's no way in hell I'm getting up and playing after witnessing that to my captain, right, to any player on the ice. So
I think I heard where you were going with that. You froze there for a second. However, yeah, I think you mentioned a couple things that are worth expanding on, and that is that image of John Tavares, and I think it was him trying to get up and the medical staff trying to coax him back down when he was trying to get up, and that's when he collapsed backward. I know that was a gut-wrenching moment for everybody, and it kind of chapped my ass that was shown as much as it was. Like, that image was just everywhere. And I don't think that that's something that needs to be seen. I think that it was terrifying and horrifying in the moment, and to like have to relive that, and like to see it on loops on sports and to see it on loops on like social media, just like, man, like we saw what happened. Like, we don't need to relive this guy's misery time and time and time again. Yeah. That being said, I'm glad to hear. It looks like Johnny T's on the mend. He was at home. He sent out this kind of heartfelt message yesterday. Obviously, everybody in the hockey world, regardless of affiliation, is hoping nothing but the best. You saw Corey Perry go and tap him. You saw Carey Price go and say, best luck on his way off the ice. I am in the minority in this, and I know this, and I've read the comments over the internet over the last few days, but that fight was 100% necessary. And that is when Nick Foligno took on Corey Perry. Mick, before I go into my rant, what did you think about it?
Oh, somebody needed to step up, and that's the way. We talk about policing the game, right? There's an unfortunate incident. It happens by chance. It's a high-speed game. Corey Perry looked like, I think, genuinely tried to get out of the way. He showed remorse. Like, you saw a man, the face of a man, like I said, looked like the soul was kind of drained from him. He wasn't feeling good about it, right? He wasn't sitting there smirking in the corner laughing about it. He knew it was a serious event. And Foligno stepping out and getting into a fight right then and there is just a way to mitigate kind of the physicality and that guilt that's going to be associated with the rest of the series. It basically makes it safe for everyone else. Now people aren't headhunting. They don't feel the urge to kind of get vengeance, because vengeance was served, right? Like, Perry faced the music, got his clock clicked. I don't think that's an expression. But I mean, like, that step up, right? Like that kind of indication from both teams is kind of like, hey guys, we're going to put this aside. It was an accident, but he has to kind of pay the price for that accident, right? So in the safest way possible. So we're not going to come after you and slew foot you or go for your head later. Let's, square up man to man, drop the gloves, settle this.
You're absolutely right. You hit exactly on one of the points I wanted to touch on, and that is like, if he doesn't fight Nick Foligno, this shit is going to intensify. Like, this is going to get carried away, and one thing's going to lead to the next, and you could already see it in some of the other actions and that is like Matthews was antagonizing the Habs, and like if Perry doesn't fight Foligno in that spot, those actions are amplified, like they grow exponentially. So people who are saying that this didn't matter, Corey didn't want to fight, blah 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 blah, it never should have happened, absolute nonsense. Corey Perry did not have to be the first guy on the ice after that shift. And everybody in the fucking rink should know that. Everybody watching should know Corey Perry does not have to be the guy on the ice in that circumstance, but he is on the ice. Not only that, he doesn't have to answer the bell. So that is, he doesn't even have to, if Nick Foligno says, you know what, we're fighting. I've seen Corey Perry turtle before. We've all seen Corey Perry turtle before. He fought because he knew that's what the circumstance needed. And honestly, kudos to him. He knew it was going to happen. He didn't have a choice. Resolved without any further fallout. And guess what? The game went back to normal. We had a hell of a playoff game the rest of the way. You could see it impacted the Leafs. And it did take their wind out of the sails in the first period. But they responded in the second, and even more so in the third. And if not for that shitty play at the blue line where... God, now it's going to bother me. Who was the shorthanded? Paul Byron. If it wasn't for that Paul Byron skating past William Nylander, it probably would have been a different outcome.
Also, like you're saying, it's really unfortunate that incident 10 minutes into a hockey game, we're not talking about the other 50 minutes, which was an incredible hockey game, right? Like, it was close, it was high energy, there was like tons of emotions going on, and those goals, that Paul Byron goal, that was one of the most beautiful goals I've ever seen. Like, even on the replay, like, he's falling down, and as he's falling forward, he somehow is able to flip the puck up and over Campbell. That's not Campbell's fault. Like, in my mind, I'm like, this puck isn't getting past me. Like, the guy's basically on his ass. He's on the motion. Like, as he's falling forward, he's able to flip it before he hits the ice. Incredible playoff goal, which will be overshadowed by the unfortunate circumstances of kind of what happened, because Sportsnet and CBC decided that you needed to show a hit 100 times on TV, right? So, I mean, if you want to talk about ethical discussions, I know we had this back when the Vancouver Olympics happened, right? And there was that loser from Georgia, right? Did you ever end up watching that video of that man kind of getting wrapped around a pole and dying? I didn't. I know there was, I think it was the Score at the time, and that was kind of a big proponent of them, and they were like, honestly, just ethically, we can't show this. Go to TSN, they'll show it. CBC, they're going to run it all day, but like, we're not going to show you this image because it's not right. It's not something you need to see. But some people like that shock and awe, right? So it's unfortunate that they focused on that, and not the great hockey that we saw the rest of this series, or the rest of that game, I guess, as it were.
Yeah, and I haven't even gotten to my Carey Price boner yet, but it's been a half chub all week. Like, if you, like, some of the saves he was making, like, I just love seeing how dialed in he is. And I think I think it was the day before, Price got heated in practice, breaks his stick on the net after a soft goal. Everybody's like, oh, look at Price. He can't even stop practice shots, blah, 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 blah. And, like, I knew in that moment, I was like, if nothing else, we are going to get an absolutely fired up Carey Price for game one. Yeah. I don't know if he can replicate his 97% save percentage. Like, that's going to be hard to do. But, man, to see that guy in his zone, like, nobody is better than Carey Price.
Yeah,
nobody.
Yeah, and like I said, like, the Leafs were in it right up to the end. There was that chance that Hyman had kind of late in the period where he had Price beat. All I had to do was just flip him over, and I think Sherratt or something kind of just got into his back, and he ended up kind of not being able to take the shot. But, I mean, strong possession, strong play from both sides. To talk not just about horror, man, like, if I'm the Toronto Maple Leafs right now, I'm feeling pretty good. They gave up some really terrible, fluky penalties. Like, they had, 3 delay of games? Montreal power play fucking sucks. Like, it is one of the least threatening things I've ever seen. They spent most of it, like, I think Carey Price had more puck possession than anyone else on the power play, because it was just kind of a dump and chase. They'd flip the puck back, they'd try and get set up. They didn't look threatening, they didn't look intimidating. So, I mean, as a Leafs person, I'm saying, look, their special teams isn't clicking. Like, they score more on our power play than they're going to score on their power play throughout the rest of this series. So, like, I think we can just get it. When you get that extra body, I mean, the problem when you lose a big minutes guy like the John Tavares, he is that leader, he's that centering force, and he's good, right? Like, he plays a lot of time. Having that extra body up front for Game 2. I think we'll kind of help level things out. They can kind of game plan around not having Tavares, and we'll go from there. So,
before we move on, I have one question for you. What do the Leafs do with the C? So that is, they've lost their captain. Do they bestow this honor on somebody else for the rest of the series and wear it in Johnny T's honor, or do they say, "Fuck this, we're just going with assistants for the rest of the series"? Probably rest of the playoffs, because I don't think Tavares is coming back anytime soon.
Yeah, I think you give it to leave it on Tavares, right? Like, you kind of do it for Johnny. So one of the other things, I don't know if you're aware, but Amazon, I believe, is doing a documentary about the Toronto Maple Leafs this year for some reason, and they're filming the documentary as we speak. So if you want to talk about drama and intrigue and intensity, the captain getting hurt as severely as he did in Game 1, and the team rallying around it, and let's do it for Johnny, let's do it for, the captain, that's a hell of an ending to a great little story, right? So if this run kind of continues. So I think you leave it. I think there's probably the leaders on this team don't necessarily need to be talked about, right? Like the things we've seen from Spezza in the last couple days, I think that guy is leaps and bounds kind of worth the money you're paying for him, right? And so I think they leave the C with the captain at home, unless Tavares is adamant that he's like, "Oh, I don't want it. If I can't play, give it to someone else," right?
Yeah, I'm kind of the opinion too that it won't go somewhere. I think that there's some symbolic gesture to it though. Like to say, if Johnny T reached out and said, "Here, like this is the guy who's gonna like," imagine the weight of that. Like Johnny T saying, "This is the guy who's gonna lead you to the promised land." Like I think there would be some weight to that, but I think that they're going with 4 or 3 assistants in for the rest of this year, the rest of the playoffs. I don't know. What do you think the chances are? Obviously, it's a 1-0 deficit, not insurmountable, but the betting price did come down substantially on the Leafs, and that is they went from -310 before Game 1 to -130 now. So that is, the market has shifted substantially in favor of the Habs. Do the Leafs still prevail?
100%. Like I'm pretty confident that they're gonna even it up tonight, right? And then it's just kind of a new series once you kind of put it like that. Like I said, I don't think Montreal. I mean, both those goals, the Anderson goals and the Byron goals, kind of fluky, right? They're both kind of like breakout chances. Yeah, maybe they get 1 or 2 of those in the future, but like, unless Carey Price is playing the best hockey we've ever seen, the Leafs are going to end up scoring on them. Like, they've just got too much offense. They're too dynamic. I think when they do game plan again, like I said, without kind of Tavares, who's a big minutes guy, big part of that team, when they plan around it, I think they level it out. The only caveat is that Monday-Tuesday game, right? So games 3 and 4 are back-to-back. So I think maybe we'll see that might add some level of like fuckiness to it. So I could see maybe the Leafs going like win the next 2, but then the opposite I think is going to be true on the Tuesday. So if the Leafs win Monday, Montreal is definitely tying the series up in Montreal on the Tuesday, and then we're coming back to Toronto, 3-game series. So,
and that's the part. So I'm with you. I'm of the opinion that the Leafs kind of come out fired up tonight. I think that's true. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring affair, though. Maybe we'll get to that later. But my biggest concern is that back-to-back in Montreal, and that's not even a concern because, truthfully, I'm not rooting for the Maple Leafs. But I think that up the Maple Leafs for disaster on that back-to-back, because if they don't win that first game, then we're going to most likely backup goalies for the second game. We've seen Montreal do this, where they would start Carey Price in both scenarios, but we're talking about Frederik Andersen versus Jake Allen, and one of those goalies has been better than the others so far this season, and it's not who you think it is, and that is Jake Allen has been the better goalie. So if we get Campbell Price on the first night, and if we get Frederik Andersen, Jake Allen on the second night, I'm leaning heavily in favor of Montreal sweeping that back-to-back. But goaltending usage is going to be critical over the coming games. We'll see what we get tonight. Carey Price, like I said, I think it's another outstanding performance, but I don't think it's going to be enough to win. Maybe 3-1 with an empty net or something along those lines. But like I said, we'll get more on that later.
Cool. Yeah. So that kind of wraps up that. Here we go. There's some serious podcasting that you guys just witnessed there. So also, it's unfortunate. Me and Grant are very similar minded, and I think we're very like logical, rational people that aren't just out here yelling and screaming at each other. So it makes for less fun content when the hosts agree with each other.
Why don't we do this old-fashioned way? Let's get all sauced up one of these days, and we'll throw darts at a wall. We will throw darts at a wall. There's got to be something we don't agree on.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is either, Mick. There's got to be something. Oh, you're so likable.
God damn it. So goddamn likable. There's other series going on. There are 6, count them, 6 other hockey series going on. So let's quickly recap what's going on in these other series. I've got the dates. Let's go in alphabetical order. Starting at the top, we've got, Tampa Bay Lightning are up 2-0 against the Florida Panthers, and they hold a commanding 2-0. Oh, now it's 2-1. There you go. We got real-time scoring here on the Canada Puck podcast. Thoughts, opinions? Tampa Bay is better than Florida?
Not from an advanced perspective. Like, Florida's absolutely running these dicks out of the rink, but their goaltending just let them down. Chris Strider, I think, has an 86% save percentage through 2 games. Bobrovsky isn't much better. He came on, I think Bobrovsky started game 1, and then they went with Dreider, and then Bobrovsky came on in relief in the 3rd game. So, and I didn't even check to see starting goalies before we got started. But if Florida can get any semblance of goaltending, and like it doesn't need to be great. We don't need outstanding goaltending from Bobrovsky or Chris Strider. They just need to be good enough. You're seeing Florida absolutely run Tampa out of the arena game after game after game. There's this year's like 90%. That's right. Mr. like best goalie in the league, who has like a 93 save percentage, stops 90% of shots against the Panthers somehow. Like, this is a huge mismatch on paper, but again, not favoring the team that you would expect it to favor, and Tampa Bay continues to win. I don't know what's going to happen in this series because it really boils down to goaltending, and Sergei Bobrovsky doesn't have the best track record in the playoffs, but Florida is the better team. They need this game so badly. 2-1 now. After a 2-0, I've got the live lines up beside me. It was up to like, I think it was 850, something like that. Minus 850 to get on Tampa. Now it's down to minus 265. Florida can score against Vasilevsky. They've scored at least 4 goals in I think 6 of the 7 games, 7 of the 8 games, something like that. It was just that game 1 where they got less than 4 goals. Like, I don't know, man. I believe in the Panthers.
Cool, yo. I would like to point out that the Lightning have scored 2 goals on 4 shots, so way to go goaltending. There you go. Pittsburgh Penguins are just kicking the snot out of the New York Islanders. That was one of the first games maybe last Saturday, Sunday. I just kind of was hunkered on the couch, and I watched the majority of that game, and I think it was one of the overtime games, and I was like, we'll go get groceries when this game is over. And it was such an ambivalent time. Definitely led to a fun conversation in the household. Should be more concise with timing. But thoughts, opinions, facts on the Penguins Islanders?
Yeah, this game, did you watch the end of, I'm not sure if you saw any of it, but did you see the 3rd period of game 3? Oh man, it was a time, Mick. Pittsburgh had a 2-goal lead entering the period. Islanders came back to tie it up. Pittsburgh reestablished the lead. A true line brawl, but everybody got involved. There was 10 guys in the penalty box, and this, like, it was a Sidney Crosby line. I can't remember who it was on the ice for the Islanders, but 10 guys in the box. I think there was in total 30 penalty minutes in the 3rd period alone, most of which coming in the last 10 minutes. And then who scored it? Jeff Carter scored another beauty. I can't remember who got the game winner. It was somebody unsuspecting, I believe. They scored with less than 4 minutes to go. Like, not the series I was expecting it to be, but I was talking about how entertaining this one was. Like, this was going to be one of those classic 7-game series. We haven't seen the best of this yet. Like, this has been great hockey, entertaining hockey, but we haven't seen the best of it. And I think that tonight is going to be, an exciting extension of Game 3 and more rough stuff, more goals, more playoff shenanigans.
Sweet.
But I still think this one's going the full 7.
I agree. I think these teams are very evenly matched, and it'll be fun down to the wire of kind of what's going on. Where was I? Saturday. As we go down the line, we end up at the Golden Knights Wild. What a Wild series that is. Very low scoring. It was 0-0, I think, in that first game until the Wild won it in overtime, kind of with a chippy goal there. It was fun. That was one of the series I was watching diligently because I had a good feeling that the Knights were playing pretty well. So I put a significant sum of money on the Knights to win Game 2. And I went to bed and then woke up in the morning and realized I might have just jeopardized my future if the Wild were up 2-0. But they weren't. Knights tied it, and then they kind of looked like they got rolled over a little bit in that third game. At one point I looked on the live line. It was, 2-0, or I think it was 2-0 Wild early on. And it was, like the live line was like plus 500. I'm like, plus 500 that the Knights can't score 3 goals against the Wild? I'm like, I don't know, that might be worth throwing even $10 on or something and seeing what happened. I didn't, and regret it because I think the final score there was 5-2 or something like that. So
yeah, that was another one. So I went in with a strong feeling on the over, made a strong play on the over, and thankfully it did go. I think it near the start of the third period, I had to sweat a little bit actually because it wasn't about midway through the third period that the Knights took the lead. But you're right, has been a great game. The other thing, if you like high scoring games, Minnesota has this incredible overtrend on home ice, and I think after last night or after Game 3 in this series, I want to say maybe 14 of the last 16 have gone over, and not just trickled over, but over by a substantial margin. And that is the Wild are just absolutely lighting it up on home ice. However, it was a different outcome in Game 3, and I think that going into Game 4, it's just going to be full-on onslaught. Wild are going to turn it up. Their biggest advantage playing on home ice is playing with the lead and establishing the lead. They rested on their laurels in Game 3, came back to haunt them. I don't think they make the same mistake twice. Expect a big offensive game again tonight. Marc-Andre Fleury, absolutely outstanding this series. He's been basically a rock. He wasn't tested much in Game 3, outside of the first period, and that is more a reflection of Minnesota sitting back than Marc-Andre Fleury standing on his head. So I'm expecting full flooring offensive. It's pedal to the metal. What's that when you put your foot on? Is it pedal? Floor it. God damn me.
Flooring it? I think is what you'd want to say. Flooring it? Yeah.
Minnesota Wild are flooring it tonight.
Nice. Yeah, Fleury is just what an enigma that guy's career is. Kind of since this expansion draft, he came over to Vegas last year. It looked like he was done, right? They went with Lehner. There was a famous picture on the internet of them kind of skewering him and him falling on the sword for the team. You figured that was the last time Fleury was ever going to play for the Vegas Knights. It looks like they patched that up, and now he's comfortable and confident and wants to win some more games in the playoffs for this team. Kudos to Mark Fleury. You have a very interesting life.
Yeah, interesting is the best way to describe him. I love the Knights. I love what they bring. I think that they've been there before. They know what it takes. They've had heartbreak. I'm going to, full disclosure, let you know that I put in a playoff bracket. The bracket name is actually Mick is my daddy. Nice. But I put in a playoff bracket, and I have the Vegas Golden Knights beating the Boston Bruins in the Stanley Cup final. And I just think it's theirs to lose.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's kind of why, again, I told you about that. The good sum of money that I put on them to tie it up the other night. Well, confident with that pick. Confident indeed. So into tomorrow's slate. So that kind of wraps up the games that are going to happen tonight. Let's give you a quick preview. We're going to get to the top of the chart. So at 12:30 our time, maybe 2:30 Eastern time, the Carolina Hurricanes are going to take on the Nashville Predators. Those dastardly Predators. And I haven't watched any of the series. I'm taking it as Carolina is dominating the Predators.
So not as much as you would have thought. In Game 2, the Predators stymied the Hurricanes, and that is Carolina didn't attempt more than, I want to say, 16 or so scoring chances. Let me just pull it up here. And high danger chances were also low, which is the exact opposite of what you expect from the Hurricanes, especially after what we saw in Game 1. I don't think that Nashville can skate with these guys much longer, though. Carolina is just they're not tailor-made for the playoffs, but they're contrasting styles, and that is Carolina will make you skate with them, and their key to success is going to be making the Predators skate with them, not falling into these defensive traps. So I would say, and I said at the outset, maybe I didn't say it on the podcast, it was somewhere on the internet I put this, but UC Saros would be good enough to get the Predators one win, and I don't think it's going to be much more than that. Even, like, I didn't watch the game last night, 4-3 or 5-4 in overtime, double overtime, no less. I imagine Saros had a few big saves in the overtime that kept Predators in it, but I don't think that the Hurricanes are going to roll over and let this one go back to rally tied 2-2. So that was their moment. They've flown too close to the sun.
There you go. Sorry, Icarus, your wings are going to burn off. I understand that reference. Hey-oh, go Greek mythology for the wing. On to Greek mythology. We got the St. Louis Blues, that god, fighting the Colorado Avalanche, that god. I don't know. I don't really know gods, obviously. Other than myself, Jesus. Well, that's like a...
Bruins Jesus.
All right. Well, 3-0. Are the Blues going to win a game, or are they just going to kind of roll over?
No, I think that this one's kind of a foregone conclusion. I said at the outset of this series that the Avs were going to sweep the Blues. That's kind of exactly what we've seen. St. Louis hasn't stood a chance. Maybe, no, like I was going to say maybe they improve. Maybe we get an overtime game, but no, it's not going to happen. It is an elimination game. It's going to be 6-2 or 6-2 Avalanche. Like there's nothing left to prove here. St. Louis is probably the luckiest team to be in the playoffs, and it was just by virtue of getting to beat up on Anaheim, Los Angeles, and eventually the Coyotes, who faltered at the end, that got them that final spot in the West. So nope, this one's over.
Yeah, I mean, the Avalanche are a strong team, which is why I made a sizable investment in Joe Sakic. Yes, the general manager, Joe Sakic, and his rookie cards. So, barring a Stanley Cup victory, maybe he's out there on the ice holding it up or something, people are like, oh man, Joe Sakic was good. Come to me for all of your Joe Sakic rookie card needs.
Man, I didn't even touch on this because I think this was brought up during the Tavares segment. You got a 13 Top Shot, man. Like, how did you get that?
Not only that, but I think like earlier in the pack, I got an 1800 out of whatever, like that. So they're out of, you get a serial number based on like usually like 35, 20, 40,000. I got an 1800 OG Anunoby. I have the other Raptors. I got a Fred, I got a Lowry, I got a Siakam. I bought a couple of those, but I was like, I kind of like OG. I'd like him. And I got like an 1800. I'm like, great. I was like, this pack paid for itself, right? Like I would have paid $14 or whatever just for that. And then I got a Julius Randle, and I'm like, he's one of the biggest stars in the world on one of the biggest sports teams in the world, and they're in the playoffs. I'm like, that's great. I was like, perfect, done. So.
Okay, so are you sitting on this, or is this one that you're going to be like, if the Knicks upset somebody, I don't even know who they're playing in the first round, but if they, that's going to be a high-scoring affair, I would assume.
Yeah.
If they move on, if they go on a playoff run, are you selling that, or are you going to sit on this for a little? Like, I feel like the mania is now, like the Top Shot mania is now.
It's on the marketplace. I got it for about $1,200, so it's kind of fairly priced compared to, or there's no market. Like those top level, those low level ones people are holding on to. People got money in New York, so somebody on there is going to be looking at Julius Randle after Game 1 when he puts up 30 points for a victory, the first playoff victory in like 10 years for the New York Knicks. All right.
How long did you wait in queue for this? Because I've seen some long lineups.
A couple hours. Like I think I was queued in, noon, and it was like 6 o'clock. So it's probably like 6 hours. I was just kind of. I mean, you can like be in the queue, that get them to send you an email, and then you just periodically check kind of throughout the day, right? So.
Man, and so I'm completely new to this. Is it NFS, NSF, NFS?
Non-fungible tokens, NFTs.
NFTs. Yeah. All right, I'm new to the NFT world. How much does a pack of Top Shot, NBA Top Shot cost?
Anywhere, depending. There's a couple of cool sets. It's either $9 American, $14 American. So I invested. I think I bought 2 packs, like out of my own money, just via whatever kind of their website is. And then I basically just sold off some moments. Sometimes you get special ones that go towards collections. So I think I've made already $70 or something like that. I've heard withdrawing is difficult, so I'm just like, well, the next couple packs I'll just kind of bleed out of that, thinking maybe if I get some good ones, they'll be worth something. So my only caveat is if I make $1,000 on this Randall card, it might be hard for me to get the money, so I might be waiting a little while.
All right, we're gonna have to talk after the show because I'm gonna get invested in this. I just want.
Like,
go ahead.
I invested what, like $23 US initially, and up to this date I've made $100 just selling off this product. So somehow I made money by really doing nothing. It's fascinating. And now I'm sitting on cards that are worth probably hundreds of dollars. So
I've just been caught up in the card mania too. I know we're getting a little off topic here, but just to wrap things up, I am going to do this because I love the idea of it. I'm also going to go buy like a carton of basketball cards. I don't know why. I just feel like
good luck.
I'm getting sucked into this.
Yeah.
They're hard to find. I thought like Toys R Us maybe. No luck.
I'd look at events, but yeah, like Pokemon cards, basketball, football cards, hard to find. Hockey, you can find the odd set of hockey, and like baseball, hit or miss, but
shit, eh? All right, well, I'll keep you posted on my adventure. This is going to be an afternoon adventure, but
right.
Getting back to the hockey stuff.
We got one more to go. We've got the Bruins playing the Capitals. What a hard-hitting affair. I think the first 3 games, so the game yesterday was the first one that did not go to overtime. Been some close encounters, 2 big physical teams. The Montreal Canadiens are trying to play a very physical brand of hockey against the Leafs, and the Leafs have that little bit more finesse and skill. Imagine the Montreal Canadiens playing an equally tough Montreal Canadiens and just kind of pounding it out with kind of that same equal level of finesse and skill. This has been a great little series to watch. I've been invested in the Bruins, so I've been following it a little bit closer than the other series. But man, it is some tough hockey being played there in the nation's capital and Boston, respectively.
I would say, and I don't know where you left off, God bless the internet, the Bruins, the scores in this series are not doing the Bruins justice, and that is Boston has been the better team. That's reflected, like when it passes the eye test, it's reflected in the advanced metrics. It felt like it was just a matter of time before they kind of gassed the Capitals, and I think we saw that a little bit in Game 4. Stupid me, in Game 3, I was like, this is the game. This is the game that Boston just gasses them. Obviously, that one went to overtime, so I bet Boston -1.5 in that game, thinking, yeah, Capitals can't do this game and game and game and game. And they did it another game. And I had a feeling last night, I was like, you know what, it's probably going to be tonight. I wasn't confident enough to make a play on it, and of course it fucking bit me in the ass. But maybe, just maybe, Washington gets the best of them in Game 5, but this one's not going longer than 6. Like, this is Boston series.
Yeah, and I have a very complicated bet that I'm like trying to figure out. I'm trying to learn some long-form algebra, some basic little calculus to kind of figure out what I was trying to accomplish here. Just one of those thoughts I had on the couch, and I was like, how would this work out? I will explain that to you in our Bettor Advice segment, but I mean, I'm betting on Boston, so I'm happy, essentially. I'm just like, I'm happy, but doing a lot of work for my happiness, so.
We gotta dumb this down. Maybe we could even break it down to like emoticon. Maybe we'll just like describe your playoff bets in one emoticon.
It's the little arrow guy that's going up, but then also like instead of an arrow at the tip, it's a question mark.
Wow, that's some depth that I didn't know existed. Good for you, Mick.
Good for me. So on to that kind of wraps up headlines, segments that's going around. Anything else that came out? No, I think the Canucks finished up their season. They wrecked their chances at the lottery, so lottery odds are up. NHL, what's it called? Draft odds. That came out this week, right?
So I would just like to toot my own horn here. At the start of the NHL season, picked the Canucks to finish last. It came down to the final game of the season, but they did in fact finish last.
I had them first.
You didn't have to say that, Mick, but
yeah, but you know what? Like last week, I went off about how I'm so smart and I won this, 700 ticket and dug myself out of a hole. You got to go both ways, like you can't win them all. Yeah, speaking of which, I mean, congratulations to Grant for winning our little playoff pool. He beat me by 4 points. He picked a bunch of Habs because they were the best offense in Canada, and I was like, oh, the Nucks are just equally as good. So then we picked some other players. He might have had Connor McDavid, but he beat me by 4 points. So I said, hey, what if we just took out the Connor McDavid and the Draisaitl and the Nathan McKinnons and the John Tavares? The Canucks offense of the players I chose, if you choose, I could click on this link, but I'm okay with it. They got 224 total points. What do you think the Montreal Canadiens did?
I know where this is going, Mick, so I'm going to say 206.
22. 2-point difference. So total, if we include Connor McDavid, those big guys, those extra 4 players on our squad, there's a 4-point difference. If we just took those guys out, it's a 2-point difference. So that is really screwy. Like, I was like, that's weird.
Yeah, I'm going to stand by my assessment, my initial assessment, and this was all premised on Claude Julien coaching. If they didn't can him after that goddamn slow start, it wasn't even a slow start. It was a rough patch. It was like an 8-game rough patch. We're like, fuck, get out of here, Claude. Maybe it's a different outcome. Kudos to you.
Not only that, though, but like you could see in Game 1, Montreal is not an offensive threat. They're not the juggernaut. They're going to get chippy goals. They're going to grind it out. Like, defensively, physicality, goaltending is kind of their strong suit. So, I mean, I will concede to that, but it is just kind of, I don't know what conversation led to the formation of that pool. It was kind of funny at the end of the day, you know? Like, all right.
But, like, that's like, I'm going to defend my point a little further here because, and I know that he wasn't in my pool, but Dominic Ducharme elected not to play Jesperi Kotkaniemi. He elected not to play Cole Caulfield. He elected not to play Alexander Romanov. Like, he is passing on skill for a reason, and it's a reason I don't agree with because I think skill belongs in the lineup. But that's kind of like sums up his approach to this season, and that is Claude Julien had a more of an emphasis on offense, whereas Dominic Ducharme doesn't give a shit about offense. Like, he's not here to beat the Maple Leafs 4-3. He's here to beat them 2-1 and get lucky doing it. Yeah. So my big, bold prediction was premised off of a different coach. I know that you're right. I will eat crow on this one. The Canucks were the superior offensive team, but I don't like saying that. And
yeah, I mean, I also don't feel comfortable. I also had that tab opened up already and logged in, so I was like, well, we might as well use it for the show. We got the content there. I also have tankathon.com right now. Looks like a pretty nice website, and it's just showing kind of all the percentages of all the teams. So if we look at the Canadian content, I know last week we were talking about Vancouver. They were above the Columbus Blue Jackets, or below them, I guess, above them on the chart, below them. But then they decided to win 2 of their last 4 games, which lowered them down. So they actually lost 3% chance of getting the first overall pick and a 3% chance of the second overall pick because they're the Vancouver Canucks. So good job, team.
Imagine your pride being worth one of the best players in the game. But
with 4 points in the draft, just why are you even playing guys those last couple of games? That's what I don't understand. I mean, they did kind of. I think they gave Calgary enough points, so Calgary was right next to Ottawa, and I believe they were at 9 or 10. And they've fallen down to 13 with those last couple wins. So they did kind of throw over the Flames, which is nice, but unfortunately they were just a little bit too good to get past themselves. So.
And I love your draft theory, too. If we can revisit that just briefly, who knows what to expect this draft? Because we sure as hell haven't seen a lot of hockey. I know that scouts haven't seen a lot of hockey. This is, less than a coin flip. This is like a literal roll of the dice. Your top 10 pick, maybe a 1 in 6 chance of being the best guy in the draft.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so maybe they were looking at it that way, and they're like, the guys that we like, unless we end up with the first overall pick, are probably going to be there at 9 anyways, so don't worry about it, right?
I was going to thinking the exact opposite. The Canucks are going to probably land on one of the other 5 sides, but maybe they do have some good draft history recently. Quinn Hughes, obviously, that Yul Jojovi, whatever, the other defenseman, you can go back even further, Brock Besser, Bo Horvat. I don't think that's the current regime's picks, though, so I don't know. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see what happens this draft.
Nice. Coolio. And then on that, you got Ottawa sitting at 10. And like I said, Calgary at 13. Able to get lucky and jump up, but I don't know. As we kind of talked about, I think Owen Towers or something like that, defenseman. I don't know if there's like a big prize. You know, like if you were to jump up in the lottery and let's say Calgary won the draft lottery and got the first overall pick this year, probably not a great year to have that happen to your franchise. You know, you get Owen Towers and you're like, cool name, good luck, but like I don't think Calgary's problems are going to be solved by a great defenseman.
Yeah, and they changed the draft rules this year too, so it's only the top 10 teams who can win the draft. So Calgary has absolutely no chance. I think they can move up 10 spots. I think that was the rationale. So they're at best looking at top 3.
Weird, because yeah, this website I'm looking at, it does show like all the way down to the Rangers. They have a 1% chance of jumping up to 1. So.
I think maybe it doesn't take effect until next year, but I think I remember vaguely hearing about something like that earlier in the season.
Interesting. All right, coolio. These teams aren't playing playoff hockey. Who cares? You know what I do care about, though? Talking about my awful FanDuel lineup from last week. I don't even remember who I had, but I got 20th out of 22, so.
I had the opposite problem. I finished 477th out of 5,655.
Get any coin from that?
Not enough to retire. I played it safe in a 25-cent contest, so.
Great.
But I got enough to bet in another 25-cent contest.
Nice. Yeah, I'm showing my team on the tier. I kind of obviously went Boston heavy. Figured there'd be some scoring. Anthony Mantha got me 11 points. McDavid got me 12. Everyone else got me 3. So that explains why that sucked.
I went Canucks heavy. JT Miller, Thatcher Demko, Brock Besser. Those were basically my big point getters. TJ Oshie. I remember I mentioned TJ Oshie. Playoff TJ Oshie's the best. He had an overtime winner, I believe. Maybe it wasn't the overtime winner. No, showing up as 2 assists. But I think he was involved in the overtime play. So 16 points from him. What was it? 116 overall. It was a low scoring. There was only 2 games. So a low scoring card. Looks like first place took down 153 or put up 153 points. So a little far off. I guess I was let down by John Carlson 3.2 and Lars Eller 4.8. Otherwise, everybody was doing all right. Wow, Nicholas Backstrom 6.4 wasn't great either. So, but I'm going to avoid those pitfalls tonight. At least I hope to. And that is, for the first time, I am putting together an absolute star-studded lineup. I got to get your opinion on this first, because I went back and forth. I had Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner in my lineup. On 2 separate occasions, I built my lineup around them. Ended up taking them out on both occasions. Will I live to regret that?
I do think you might live to regret that, yes. I do believe that they were close. They were so close. And, like, you can only contain that level of skill for so long. And I do think that we're going to see kind of a let's do it for Tavares kind of atmosphere. I do believe I have Hyman and Matthews both in my lineup, so.
All right, maybe I'll retweak this.
Yeah,
I will let you know what it is as it stands. Marc-Andre Fleury. We'll start on the back end. Like I love Marc-Andre Fleury. I know I said it was going to be a high-scoring affair. But this was just the goalie that I felt most comfortable backing to win, because those win points as goaltenders are so valuable. I paired him with Alec Martinez on the back end. Power play time seems to be a good, steadying defensive end, and I've taken your approach, pairing that defense with a goalie from the same team. I've also paired him with Morgan Rielly, and this was part of my Leaf stack initially, because I thought Morgan Rielly, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner just made sense. Maybe I'll go back to that. Then moving up, I went with Sidney Crosby up front. Him and the Islanders. Like I said, I think this is going to be a good game. I think Crosby's going to put a few points up. So he's joined at center by Phil Deneau. I don't know. Phil Deneau gets a lot of power play, not a lot of power play time. He gets power play time, plays first line minutes. He's always so cheap, and that's because he presents with limited offensive upside. But it just was I think there's too much value to pass up. I did go with William Nylander on the wing. I think William Nylander has 16 points over his last 15 games, including the only goal last time. part of my apprehension was I believe in Willie Nylander tonight, and I think maybe that comes at the expense of Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner. I'm torn. Maybe I'm going to revisit this, but he's also joined by Mark Stone on the wing. He does it all. He feels like he's tailor-made for the playoffs. That is just this not young. He's a small, scrappy guy. He don't take no shit, Leo Komarov. So he is joined in my utility spot by Evgeny Malkin. I know that he and Crosby are going to get some power play time together. Islanders goaltenders haven't been great. I don't know what to expect tonight, but I think that if there are, the Pittsburgh goals will come from the big two. So Malkin and Crosby are kind of my stars in this lineup.
Sweet, yo. Yeah, I threw together a quick lineup. I think I originally had like an all-day slate. Didn't look like the contest went through because I don't think enough people played. Luckily, did not pick any Florida or Tampa Bay players because I knew what time we were recording, what time the game started, and if that happened, I didn't want to be caught being like, oh no, what do I do? So we created it. So if you look on the screen here, I got Matthew Barzal, big point getter for the Islanders, paired up with Austin Matthews. They don't play on the same team, but they're both my centers. Mark Stone as well. I do like his production. I think they're going to see some points scored in Minnesota. Zach Hyman, kind of compliment that Austin Matthews maybe gets an assist. On defense, I was like, Shea Weber. He had I think he led the team in shots on goal last game. So there's a chance that if a goal's going in, it's probably coming from Mr. Shea Weber. TJ Brody, $3,500. I don't think he does much defensively or offensively. Maybe he gets some hits. Oh, maybe there's like a penalty or something. $3,500. What do you want? And then I've got Josh Anderson. I think if again Montreal's going to score, it might be something from that. Kirill Kaprizov from Minnesota, and he's a dynamic scoring rookie. You know, if points are going to get put on the board, he might join them. And finally, Semyon Varlamov in net. Couldn't really decide who else I wanted. I think everyone else was either kind of too expensive or just like those big unknowns, and I don't want to bet a lot of money on this Toronto affair because I don't want my heart to be broken. So maybe I should have went with Carey Price to kind of mitigate that loss. That's why I went with Semyon Varlamov in this entry. Yeah, I want like $800 remaining, so I could even upgrade somewhere.
Yeah, the more I think about this and listen to you, I think I'm going to fiddle with my lineup. Plays very little weight off of what I said. I'm sure you do anyways because my DFS strategies or at least track record this year is suboptimal is probably the best word to use. So the Leafs, we have to expect the Leafs to come out hot. They must, they have to come out with something lit under their ass. But anyways, maybe there's a little breadcrumb that will lead us into our Bettor Advice segment.
Sweet, yo. Yeah, I need to be done with this because I actually need to cancel because the entry I did on my phone quick, it's like a $15 entry. And I was like, that's too much money to enter in this random lineup. And I was like, I'll just cancel after this. So perfect. But at least I can show. I would recommend $1, $2, but don't get too carried away. Like I did there. Hooray. Yeah. Then finally, Bettor Advice. Last week we did kind of a feature show, so we took 100 theoretical dollars every week. We bet against just whatever we wanted to do. We could spend it, but we had to spend at least $100 every single week. Kept the total rolling throughout the season. I dug myself a big hole. I triumphantly hit on the last week. Kind of got at least maybe I was down maybe $100 or something like that, but not terrible. Grant, he's always going to get you some money. We did a bunch of futures last week. Have any of those futures come to play? Because I don't think mine have. I've got a bunch of series prices. I've got this very confusing Bruins bet that I've done, where instead of taking minus 150, I could have just taken the Bruins straight up to win. But I thought, what if I bet each game individually, but with a strategy inside? So I put $15, so 30% of my total $50 on the first 3 games, and then I kind of redid the strategy. After the first 3 games, I had made $5, so I was up to $55.36 in total. That's pretty exciting. So now I've taken that money, done the same strategy, and I put $15 on the next 3 games in this series. If the Bruins win tomorrow night, or tomorrow afternoon as it were, I would finish with about $65 in total, with a bunch of extra stress and way more work versus the $80 I would have had if I would have just taken them straight up on the 150. So I think my little strategy that I've created, I don't know how smart it is, or relevant, or maybe we just never talk about it again. But I tried something new. Other than that, I think I've got Leafs in 6, still alive. I've got Knights, Kings paired together. Unfortunately, with the Oilers to win their series, so we'll see how that one fares on my part. But
I wish I had a more comprehensive update to provide. I know last week I hit on the overtime bet in Boston, Washington, missed on my under. I had two futures bets. I know that I took the Habs plus 240, and I want to say the other was it 7? Was it 7 games in Pittsburgh, New York? I'll have to re-listen, but I know that my 2 futures are outstanding. I have 4 picks lined up on today's slate, none of which are futures. I'm looking just specifically at Saturday scheduled hockey games. What kind of bets did you peruse for our Bettor Advice segment?
Well, I don't have it all. I still have $5 outstanding, so maybe I'll just have to throw something at the wall. But I did put some thought into this. I think the Leafs are winning tonight. I'm going to put money on. Normally I hedge emotionally. When Montreal won the other night, I was like, oh, that sucks. I was like, I won like $10, so that makes me feel a little better about myself. You know, it's nice. I went against that. I'm not going to emotionally hedge. I do think the Leafs, I mean, really, for it to be a series, for it to be a long series, I think they're going to win tonight. So I'm going to take them. Plus, I'm going to parlay them with the Oilers winning tomorrow afternoon. They have to at that point. It's kind of a life or death at 0-2. That they have to beat the Winnipeg Jets. I think Connor McDavid comes out big on Sunday night of the long weekend. $50 at plus 180 on that one. And then I've got another bet for $35. I'm going to take the Capitals over the Bruins at plus 115. I think there's a slim chance the Capitals are not dead. If they come back, they kind of squeak one out against the Bruins. I want to have some money on that. And then that leaves me at $15. I'm going to do 3 overtime plays. We've seen tons of overtimes. Give me some overtime. I'm going to take the Islanders-Penguins game today at plus 300, Montreal-Toronto at plus 330, which leaves me with $5 to do something with. I kind of wanted to throw literally a dart at the board and see what happens. Let's go Bruins Capitals? Sure, why not? Bruins Capitals and overtime. I don't know what kind of odds that gets me. I'll look that up.
That sounds like a good one. Making it, what would that be, 4 of 5? Mm-hmm. The way that those overtimes are hitting, I wouldn't be surprised. I like the strategy, especially at plus 300, kind of breaking it up that way. Seems like it's all you need is one to hit to be profitable. So good luck with that, sir. I am along the same vein as you with the Montreal Canadiens and Toronto Maple Leafs, and that is I believe that Toronto comes out absolutely on fire. I was torn on this, and I was torn because I'm not sure that it won't be an overtime game. And so rather than, taking Toronto on the 60-minute line or playing the overtime bet, I thought that I was going to play it a little safe. Toronto comes out firing. I don't think that there's any disputing that. Like, they've regrouped, they're recentered, they ain't here for no shit. Maple Leafs, minus 0.5 in the first period, plus 140. So that is, I expect the Leafs to leave the first with the lead. I'm betting $25 that happens at plus 140. But I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I still, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, maybe 5 goals. Like, I would say that if this gets past 5 goals, Carey Price is a shattered man, and I don't think that he is. So I took the under 5.5 for $25 at minus 115. That leaves me $50 to goof around with here. I like overtime bets too, Mick. So I went Vegas Golden Knights at Minnesota Wild plus 300 for $25, and I've taken the over, and that is plus over 5.5 at minus 102. So nearly plus money. $25 to win $24.51. I just don't see how it stays under. Like, either one of these teams could go off for 5 goals themselves. So, and maybe, high scoring affair. Maybe, let's say 6-5 Wild in overtime, or maybe Vegas. Sorry, we'll go 6-5 Vegas in overtime.
Sweet. I like it. So, yeah, so there's lots to chew on there. Some good advice. Yeah, it's kind of the trends I'm seeing. I kind of like to be almost more of a predatorial bettor, where I'll watch a series for a while, don't put a lot of money up front. Like, I don't think I've actually done any live gambling outside of that money on Vegas. Just I'm kind of waiting for my spots, waiting to see some kind of trends develop. It's kind of that time, so it's exciting things.
But we wouldn't be complete here without our weekly babe, or our babe of the week. Weekly babe of the week is redundant. It's just the babe of the week.
The poorly named segment, weekly babe of the week.
And here we did so well with our other segments. My Dirty Fantasy, Bettor Advice, Weekly Babe of the Week. But that does not diminish the absolute gem that I found for you, Mick. And of course, my Instagram here froze a little bit. Here we go. This one's a little... So, the title is, or the handle is Cosmic Kitty 143. Exactly how you think it's going to be spelled. COSMICKITTY, the numbers 143. I think we should just take a few moments and observe Cosmic Kitty in all her glory, because there's a little bit of everything right in every one of these pictures.
Yeah,
and if you go...
Like, there's this one where she's, I mean, I realize she's topless, and you can see the top of her giant tits, but, like, her face is absolutely adorable. It's absolutely just gorgeous, stunning. And you're like, oh, she's also just a bombshell, so...
Yeah, and if you go down to, like, May 14th, just the tip of the areola, you're like, I know what's under there. But Cosmic Kitty is our babe of the week. Schwing!
Not bad. Yeah, that's nice. All right, good job. Well played, sir. So, there you go. So, we got a fun week ahead of us. Question. End the show. Normally we just wrap the show up. Is there going to be Canadian hockey series going when we record next week? So, first round matchups.
You froze for all of that.
Oh, so
I missed
are
it.
we going to see first round North matchups when we talk next week?
Ooh. All last night when I was watching the game, and I didn't catch all of it, I just caught the last half of it plus overtime. I was just like, every time the Jets entered the zone, for the Oilers zone that is, I was like, they're going to score. It's just a matter of time. Like, I had this, like, feeling of doom. I was like, I knew that the Jets were going to win at a certain point. I bet that game is an overtime bet. But notwithstanding, I didn't think that it was going to go the way that it did. Or, sorry, I had a feeling it was going to go the way that it did, in the sense that it was going to go overtime and the Jets were going to lose, or the Jets were going to win. That feeling hasn't subsided, Mick. Like, I'm not settled that the Oilers are going to come back and compete. I know that you've taken a stance on them tomorrow. I hope you're right. I'm not confident going into that game thinking, yep, the Oilers are the right side to be on, because Connor Hellebuck has had an answer for Connor McDavid, and the Jets have been effective at limiting them. So, I conceivably could see the Jets, maybe not sweeping, but getting this one over in a hurry, and that would be before next week. Montreal, Toronto, this one's going at least six. So I would say that on that premise, we will see this game, because I think Game 6 is scheduled for Saturday next week, because they have the back-to-back. Let me double-check the schedule here. What do you think? Are we
Thursday? So that means Saturday. We are definitely getting a Game 6. Oh, it's exciting. I do, and I'm just seeing one kind of caveat here as I'm clicking on through the schedule. They are playing a back-to-back in Winnipeg, so that's interesting. So they're playing tomorrow as well as they're playing on the Monday. So I mean, if you can get some past Connor Hellebuck, I think the Lauren Brossois of the world kind of step in. And that's how you even up that series, right? Is you got to take advantage. So tomorrow is a very important game for the Edmonton Oilers.
I know I've relied on this analogy in the past, but Toronto Raptors, Game 3 at home, and maybe that's where the difference is, but Game 3 against the Bucks, when they came back in overtime and won, that changed the tone of the series. I am hoping that analogy applies to the Oilers. I know there's some differences. Obviously, they're going on the road in this case, but if they can sneak out an overtime win and then get to Brossois in the second game, you're right. Maybe this is a difference. Don't give me hope. Fuck you, Mick. All of a sudden, I'm thinking optimistically. I hate you. You're a psychological assassin.
Boop, boop, boop. With that, I'm going to say, party on, Grant.
Party on, Mick. We'll see everybody next week.